All right, welcome to Real Talk Podcast, where we discuss starting, growing, and paths to exit mortgage and real estate sales businesses. Today, I'm really excited to have Bretton Van over at Five Star Mortgage. He's been killing the game for a while now, and today he's going to talk about how he got started, where he's at now, and where he's going. And it's some pretty exciting stuff. I'm sure if you're listening, you can get some real solid gold nuggets that you can apply to your business. So, Bretton, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Trevor. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, Brenton, when did if you could just tell us kind of a little bit like when and how you got started? I have a, I mean, I knew you back then, so I kind of know a little bit about it, but not the full story. So, how did you get into mortgages? How did you get started?
So basically, I played baseball in college, all that, right? Went back to school, graduated from UNLV with a criminal justice degree, and then I was going to go into law, following the family's footsteps. Then my son was born, and it kind of put me in a little bit of a situation like, okay, cool. Do you want to take the next 3 years, go to law school, do that whole thing, or do you just want to hit the ground running? And I was debating between mortgages and law regardless, and I've always leaned a little more on the number side anyways. So I just said, hey, let's just take a run at mortgages, see how it goes, and just kind of took off from there. So I started about 7 years ago now, because I'm in my seventh year.
Okay, so you started 7 years ago, and so tell me about that first year. How many? I think we talked about you did the 20 plus transactions, I think, in your first year, which is actually a pretty good first year. So how did you do that?
Yeah, so what I did was I hit up all my family and friends first of all, and then I actually asked them for their contact list, any emails that they had, because I knew nobody was in the mortgage business like around my friends and family at the time. Actually got everybody's contact list, all their emails, and then I sent out about 13,000 personal emails my first year. I came in the office every day, and for the first 2 or 3 hours, I wrote a personalized email to the email address that I had for each individual. So I sent about 13,000 of those, which was a ton, but when you first start, you're not that busy, right? So you have a lot of downtime. So I started doing
Yeah.
that. Yeah, so I started doing that, and then I got a couple people that I didn't even know that were real estate agents, kind of like older people, maybe retired cops that got into real estate, stuff like that, that I've known my whole life. Um, and then they were just like, yeah, cool, I'd love to, use your services, things like that. So that's how I got like my first 3 to 4 real estate agents in that first year. And then I did 26 transactions my first year.
Wow. That's solid and that's brilliant. Wow, just that's great. Asking everyone you know to send them a list of everyone they know. 13,000 emails. That's crazy. All right.
Yeah,
So
it was
so
nuts. So the ROI wasn't very great, right? Because I sent out a lot and got 26 deals out of it. But the contact list was huge. Keeping all those contacts, everything like that, and then it was like credibility right away. Hey, I got your information from Trevor. I got your information from Trevor. He said that you were a good friend of his. I just wanted to reach out, let you know I'm in the mortgage business. If you ever need anything, don't hesitate to reach out type stuff.
very good. All right. So year one, 26. And are you in year seven or are you in year eight?
I'm in year seven. I started October of 2016 was the day I got my license.
Okay. All right. So year six, how many transactions was that?
I did 138 transactions for 49 million in revenue, like in volume.
That's got to be top 1% in the US.
Yeah,
Um,
it's up there, I think. So just as a single person, I don't have a team or anything like that. So it's just myself and my assistant. But
wow. Nuts. Okay. So that's like a transaction that's like two a week basically.
yeah,
Closing, it sounds like. Yeah. All right. So what did you do in between after year seven, 13,000 emails on the way to year six? Like what were the key things you were doing to get to that number?
well, I tell everybody who starts, it's kind of like a snowball effect. Once you get to 26, then it should be, at least one more a month, I would assume the next year is what I strive to do, right? And the reason for that is because if you can get a referral out of half of the 26, right? If you can get a refinance out of half of those, that should be the snowball effect. And as long as you're doing a good job and explaining the process to people, people love giving referrals. They like the way that they feel when they're like, oh, you need a mortgage guy? Oh, mine's the best. Let me give you his number. They feel that credibility of like providing value to somebody. So I've always been a big believer in that you just really need to convert those referrals that they give over. And if you do a good job at your job, they're going to give you those referrals because they want to. So that 149 that I did, I spent $0 on marketing. My first 6 years, I didn't spend a dollar. I didn't do like realtor.com or Zillow leads or anything like that. It was strictly referral based and networking.
So good old fashioned, doing a good job for people, turning around and asking them for business, and rinse and repeat. Do a good job, ask for more business.
Yeah. And then you find your little niches, like get a little creative with investors and stuff like that on how they can, what we can do program wise is to put down less money to acquire more properties and things like that. Just providing people with value. So they, even if they're not using you, they're calling you to bounce some ideas off of you to see if they have like a family member who's a loan officer or something like that. But they understand the value that you add. So they just want to reach out and see what they could do, how you could help them or any ideas you might have.
Gotcha. Okay. So given that volume of transactions, tell me about what kind of what are the biggest pain points you've experienced along the way? Right, like growing like there's got to be some challenges. So what did you run into, and how'd you overcome it?
So 2020 was tough. Great year for mortgages, though, right? Like interest rates rock bottom. If you're not prepared and the systems you have to intake every single client and stay on top of it, that was the biggest hurdle for me. Was I do everything, as you know, I think I've told you this before, like I'll follow up 3 or 4 times. I do my follow-ups on Mondays, but sometimes when you're just crazy busy, people get lost in the shuffle, which is my biggest hurdle and the thing that I struggled with the most. So after 2020, I was like, I can't let that ever happen again. So I just came up with a couple systems to where, Excel spreadsheets, things like that, where everybody that I make contact with, I just update myself and my assistant. We have set board with everybody that I've, whether they're pre-approved or I'm waiting on docs or if they're in credit repair, where everybody is. And then I check up with them once a week on every one of those people that aren't in contract. Because I probably lost like 20 transactions in 2020 out of that.
So wait a minute. So even people that are, it sounds like as long as they're interested, even if they're not qualified now, and I've had that same type of list: credit repair, right? Waiting on docs, pre-approved, right? So you got a prospect in waiting, a prospect just need docs to find out if they're alive, like can send them out shopping, and then people shopping. And that list can get really, really big.
Yeah.
When you're including that whole thing, and you're literally following up with all of those people every week.
Every week, yeah. The only people that I don't follow up with on a weekly basis is if somebody, maybe let's go November, they're self-employed. I just tell them, I set a date on the calendar for maybe February before they file taxes, just to run it by me. Like obviously not a CPA, but I can say, hey, if you want to qualify to buy a home this year, this is where we need to be. And, run it by your accountant, see if that makes sense for you. So some people will schedule like 3 months out. If they're credit repair, maybe 60 days or something like that. But for the most part, it's a weekly check-in, make sure everything's good, see if they have any questions. And most of the time they're like, no, we're just waiting another month. I'm like, okay, cool. I'll check in next week, see if there's anything you need.
All right, so I got to ask you. All right, so even if you identify a late payment, and you know for a fact based on whatever program you're using, FHA, let's say it is, that that late payment needs to season for 6 more months before you can qualify. There's not a snowball's chance beforehand. Are you still following up with that person every week, or are you waiting till they're 3 months out from that date?
I won't wait till 6 months because things can get kind of lost in the shuffle. I'll more so do either once a month or maybe once every other month.
Okay.
But when it comes to the month where the seasoning comes in, like month 5, I'll update it so that I'm checking in with them weekly, just like to make sure that as soon as that's available, we're ready to go.
Gotcha. All right. And are you using a CRM for all this, or are you still just using an Excel spreadsheet?
I'm honestly a little old school. I'm using the Excel spreadsheet. The CRMs, there tends to be so much information and so much that you could do that it's just like I've always felt that what worked for me was just a little personal touch. People like to speak because the people that want to use like a broker or someone like myself, they don't want all the automation and all that. They want a mortgage person that they could talk to for the next 5 years, not go to, a huge retailer and just answer the phone. You talk to someone else, then they hand you off to someone else. And then it's just like, okay, cool. Like that all worked. But what happens if I need to call them and ask a question about why my escrows are short? Or something along those lines. And that's kind of my biggest sell to everybody. I'm like, I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. So, in the next 10 years, if you have a question about your mortgage, just shoot me your statement. I'll call you. We can go over it.
Brilliance in the basics, man.
Yeah.
It's like you are a great example of it, man. Just like basic customer service, 140 plus transactions in a year. That's incredible. All right, so what's going on this year with your business? You're building a team. What's up? Where you at?
Yeah, so there's 3 of us now. My buddy John came up and joined me from Guild, who's located right underneath us. And then a longtime friend who actually started doing loans before I did, Julian, is a part of that. And then we have my assistant Melissa now. So this year we went after a little bit bigger teams of real estate agents, splitting a little bit of marketing costs with them. This will be the first year that I do it. And that's just to make sure that we have enough leads for everybody to go around. And then the ones that we pay for kind of get round robin through the 3 of us. And then everything on the personal side, I keep. Everything on their personal side, they keep. And anything that we all do as a group and contribute to on a monthly basis gets round robin through the 3 of us and whoever has the most time for it. So that's the goal that this year. I want to see how it pans out, but so far so good.
Cool. Any initial headaches or learning curve, or is it just too early to tell?
A little too early to tell. I think everybody, the way they do business needs to be a little bit more on the same page. Everybody does things a little bit differently. So, having the same process for each person and getting on the same page is probably going to be the only hurdle it will have. Everybody knows what they're doing. It's just they go about it a little bit differently.
Yeah, so the communication in general, making sure that you guys are almost over communicating
Yeah, and we all
together.
come into the office every day, so that helps a lot.
Absolutely. No,
Yeah.
absolutely. All right. So what's the biggest thing right now that you think that can help your business? Number one thing you need.
I would just say I'm trying to really scale down on agents and get more quality than quantity. Have a really good relationship with 10 agents as opposed to have 25 agents who here and there mix it in type situation because running things very smoothly, and this when you did it, right? The agents that you have a really good relationship to that you speak with constantly, when you guys are on the same page, it is so much better for the buyer. We all have the same ideas, we all feel the same way about the transaction. It's just an extremely smooth process.
Yeah.
And that's reflective on their end as the real estate agent, our end as the broker, and the client's end. When everybody's on the same page, things run so seamlessly. Transactions close less than 3 weeks, right? Everybody's on the same page. That's what I'm striving for this year.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. And one last big question. I've seen a lot of people, and I know a lot of people who, after a while of being in this business, kind of the problem of success is it becomes a bit of a trap.
Yeah.
Um, and We all know that. We don't even got to go down that road of complaining about it. I want to know, what is your exit strategy? How are you making it so that you don't got to spend the rest of your life originating your face off?
Yeah, no, for sure. So my game plan is to have the team, everybody. I want to get to where we're doing 100+ million a year and do that for maybe 5, 7 years at the 100 million number. And then our goal is to get into, buying apartment complexes, things like that, managing those. So we get some, passive income and we have investments and things like that. But I also want to get into gap funding. I want to be the person who supplies gap funds for flipping, and or hard money loans. If you have enough capital, there's just really good money on that, on raising enough capital, having it to where you can lend it out and make a great money on it. So as soon as we have enough liquidity and things like that to get into it, that's something that I definitely want. Is, because these flippers are paying 6 to 10%, 2 points month over month. So if I could be the money behind that, there's really not much I need to do other than make the money first to do that.
Be the bank. Yeah,
Yeah.
be the bank. Hire an underwriter.
Yeah.
To handle your money well and be the bank. Yeah, I hear you. No, brilliant. And passive income with real estate, hard thing to beat.
Yeah, exactly. And there's so much money in these flips with all, they all get phenomenal deals out here. So a lot of these guys, so having to be a resource to them, like, oh well, we just need gap on this one, maybe 100 grand, or oh, we actually bought a flip for 500 and we need the full money. We need the gap and the funding. Something along those lines, I think, is something that I would like to get into at the tail end of originating. Still working, but yeah, not dealing with originating every loan anymore.
Yeah. That's what excites me the most, man, is the it's exciting to hear about your success, and it's exciting to hear about your goals and your exit strategy, man. So that's super good stuff. And I know you're going to pull it off, because I've just watched you do nothing but just pull off your goals, just crush them. So
I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Cool. Well, Breton, I really appreciate you coming on this show, dropping some great knowledge bombs. They seem super obvious after listening to you say them, but like, people need to hear that super obvious stuff and just go out and be brilliant in the basics. So really appreciate you coming on the show.
Yeah, no, thank you. I appreciate it, man.
How if someone wants to get a hold of you, what's the best way for them to do it?
Just my email or my cell phone. I mean, it's my personal lines on both, so more than happy to always reach out and have a discussion, talk to anybody that needs help.
That's Brenton at 5-Star MTG, correct? BRENTON, Brenton at the number 5 and then the word star MTG.com. He always responds to that, I know from experience.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
All right, Brenton. Great having you on. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, man.